Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the check in. Once again, must be Sunday. I am your boy, Heat Detector. Tonight, I have again my good friend uh, Tony Lynch is in the building. And while I do this other stuff, Tony, why don't you tell them who you are?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, tell them who you are, bro. While I fix
Yeah, I'm
this.
Tony Lynch. I'm the founder of the nonprofit Memories of Us podcast, host, author, a few other things as well. But all around, just trying to be a good person in the world.
Right. Tell them about your podcast and what you do, right quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. My podcast is the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast, where we have conversations, deep conversations with individuals from across the world about their experiences with loss. Um, and they offer not only their story, but tips on how to navigate that world as well. And also have another organization called the Global Grief Network, where I work with a lot of grief workers, mental health practitioners, trauma coaches from across the world to help provide services to those communities who otherwise wouldn't know that we were there.
All right, hang on. I had to, my bad. I had to adjust my mic right quick.
Are you
But
good?
thank you for telling the people who you are. I just turn this other stuff down. And before we begin, I want to tell everyone I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm none of the above. Tony, I don't know what your credentials are offhand or anything because I'm not certified.
I'm a grief coach.
Huh?
I'm a grief coach,
Grief coach.
suicide interventionist, and a mental health practitioner.
See? That's what I'm talking about. I'm none of them. I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy who is on a damn journey in life. And I got to this point because I believe, because I myself had been going through a bunch of stuff, still go through a lot of things, still a work in progress. And I felt a need because I know if I felt this way, I knew that other people out there had to feel this way. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, I'm going to give you the disclaimer, man. I'm not a counselor, therapist, or none of that. I'm just a person on a journey. And if you have weak ears, thin skin, you dream of bunny rabbits and cotton candy and running through fields of flowers and puffy clouds and all of that shit, this is probably not for you. This is straight talk, real talk about real issues. Now, I only say this because I don't want anybody to report my channel. I don't want anybody to throw flags on my channel or anything. If it's too harsh for you, just change the channel. You don't need to report anything because this is all for the betterment of my fellow man, for the betterment of myself, and for the betterment of anybody out there that needs to hear it. And quite frankly, if you get uh, or you feel disrespected or feel some kind of way, you might need to listen. If I'm being totally honest, there might be things in here that are being discussed that you may need to hear because there are some hard truths in life that people are afraid to listen to. And there are hard things in life that people do that they refuse to be held accountable for. And I will say that this channel is the one. You will get held accountable for things, not in the sense of belittling or anything like that. It's just that if you say something or you do something or whatever, you have to be accountable for your actions and for your behavior, not anybody
Yeah.
else's, but your own. And with that being said, tonight we're going to talk about something that oh, by the way, before we get started, again, I want to apologize about last week. I had a kind of a bit of a little bit of emergency. My dog ate a bag of edibles, not mine, but it was 1,000 milligrams of THC, and I don't think a dog is supposed to have that kind of, of stuff in their system. And she was pretty fucked up, and so I had to tend to the dog because it was also too damn funny. Not to be, I don't want PETA coming after me or anything, but it was too damn funny watching this dog high as hell. It was absolutely fucking hilarious. And I couldn't focus, so I had to stop the show. But tonight we are not stopping. We're going forward. We're moving forward. We're past that. The dog is fine, everybody. The dog is fine. She made it through the night. Actually, it took 2 days for that whole, for all of it to get out of her system. It didn't fry her brain. It didn't do anything. She's back to being her goofy self without being extra high. With that being said, last week we were going to talk about. Oh shit, I kind of forgot, but I think it had something to do with trauma. But tonight, I had thought about, I was going to talk about that. I was going to pick up where I left off, and I thought about something that was really important to me, because when I had that thought, and by the way, 'cause I think I'm all over the place right now, but by the way, like I come up with these topics for the show day of, moment of. I kind of wait for the universe to tell me what to talk about. But as I was getting ready to do all of this stuff and get everything prepared, I thought I would pick up where I left off last week, because I was thinking about consistency. And then I thought, oh shit, how important is consistency in life? How important is consistency in your mental health, in a person's mental health? How important are these things just in every day? And it also had my mind going, because I thought, well, damn, one of the hardest things to do in recovery of anything, or in grief, or I mean, I don't know about grief, could be, couldn't be, but the consistency of how you behave or how you act, or changing that. How about that? That's better, I think, to change your acts or your behaviors. And I think consistency on that is extremely important. And that's a hard thing to do, to wake up. If you're accustomed every day, I don't know, even maybe you don't know you're a liar, but you're accustomed every day. Every time somebody says something, you just got some other story and you lie about it. Those things become habits, right? I believe. And I think that, like, to break those habits, you have to be consistent. I know that when I quit drinking, I had to be consistent in my thoughts, telling myself, I don't drink. Period. That's it. It's end of discussion. Even no matter what my brain says, you don't drink. What's the point? You don't have this but that's just how I did it, and being consistently thinking this. And that led to a behavior. That led to me behaving in a certain manner as far as drinking is concerned. And again, this is just from my own experience. And it also translated in waking up every day and being cognitive of how I treat other people, and how I interact with other people, and how I behave with other people. Now, that one right there has been a little bit of a journey. That one's a little rougher oddly enough, a little rougher than the quitting of the drinking. Because I didn't realize how harsh I was. I didn't realize, and I still don't sometimes. I say things, and people take them like, oh shit, man, my bad. And I'm really not saying it in my mind. It's not coming out like that. I'm being extra soft with it. But I think because of all of the years and all of these things, and how I behaved and everything, that some of those things, those traits and those things are still there. And I'm constantly working on them, and constantly keeping myself aware of my thoughts, my behaviors, and my actions, and being consistent with that. Does that make sense, Tony?
It does make sense, man. I think we touched on it a little bit before we went live, and it goes back to what I was saying before. No matter what it is, whether if it's grief, it goes dealing with your recovery, healing, all of those things. Having a consistent routine is key to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is the key to having a good mindset, showing up, and being present, right? So the one thing that I learned, and again, I'm only speaking from my experience when I say this, I had to have a I had to change the way I saw things, right? Because life had conditioned me to a point to where it was too easy to go back to what I knew, which
Right.
was survival of the fittest,
Right.
right? It was too easy to look at the next person and criticize that person or talk bad to him because of the way that I was feeling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times, man, what people do, we will we will find ourselves in a situation. I think I said this before. You know, in a day, I don't believe in having bad days. I believe that we have challenging moments that
Right.
change the way we look at our day. And sometimes it's hard to let moments go. And we can drag it on throughout a day, right? And then everything else is compiled upon that. Now, what I've learned to do is look at the moment that came, look at the challenge, extract information from it, and allow that challenge, that moment to go, and go into the next moment with the information that I need. Because a lot of times, what we would do is that we will we will oftentimes not let things go.
Yeah.
We don't know how to let things go, right? That's the hardest part. When you used to being a certain way, as you said before, you know, like sometimes we get so used to talking a certain way to people that in our mind, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't seem bad. But when
Right.
it comes out, the other person who's perceiving it a totally different way, depending on how we come across.
Right.
So you have to learn how to hold yourself accountable. That's the key. That's the key to being consistent. You gotta know when someone comes to you and say, "Hey, man, I didn't know I did this to you," or something like that, right? And depending on the conversation, or you see somebody doing something, you see you see what you want to see, perception versus reality, but you don't know what
Right.
that person's going through. So in your mind, you may be telling that person something that you think is beneficial from them, but can actually be damaging to that individual. And that's what
Right.
I mean by being consistent and showing up in those places and things like that. Developing a mindset of seeing things from a 360 point of view and then stepping outside of there and looking at those vital points is key to the consistency that you have. Right? Discipline is a key to it as well. So I learned that from when I was bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
Having discipline to get up to eat, you know what I'm saying? Having the discipline to sleep, having the discipline to go and work out those 2 times a day. You know, the shit that you don't want to do, right? You know what I'm saying?
It's
Because
always
when
shit you
you when
don't
you
want to
eat
do.
12 meals a day, you know what I'm saying? It's like, fuck, man, I don't. You on meal number 6, like, man, I ain't trying to eat those other 7 meals, you know.
Right.
But you do it anyway, and that can carry over into your day to day life when you're healing and things like that. You can literally halt your healing when you stop following a routine or adjusting that routine to fit where you are in your stage of healing, right?
Right.
Well, that and it's universal across the board. That what you said right there is so important. That consistency is universal across the board.
Right. What do you think like the toughest part about somebody understanding that it takes okay, so let's just take it from like this level, right? The
Uh huh.
average guy, the average person, the average male, female, whatever, that is maybe not understanding that they may have issues in certain areas or trauma or whatever. How do you explain to someone, how do you think that you could explain to someone like the thought of being consistent about something when it's dealing with let's say grief for instance, when
Uh
dealing
huh.
with grief, how does consistency play a role in dealing with grief, because that may give a person a tool to understand that that also works with all these other things.
Uh
If
huh.
that makes any sense.
Well, the biggest thing is, right, you can't tell a person because they will look at you and got to remember the mindset that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be an example. And once they can see the routine that you have, they will in turn get curious and ask questions. Then you can talk to them. But it's like that term. You got to show me first, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to preach to me, I want you to show me first because you may have a visual individual. So say for instance, if I'm not consistent in what I do and someone else sees me, you know what I'm saying, see me not being inconsistent, they're going to think that that's the way to do it,
Right.
right? And so it's going to be real hard to talk to that person about consistency and having a routine in order to navigate that world. But now once they see me being consistent, they will often come to me and go, "Hey, Tone, how like, man, how you still standing?"
How do you deal with this? How do you asking
Right,
those
right,
questions?
exactly.
I see you smiling, and yet all this other thing, all these things are going on with you. How do you deal with that? How are you
Yeah,
doing that? And I think that opens the door to have a discussion about, okay, so yeah, key word, I'm dealing with it every day, and
right.
I'm being consistent on dealing with it, right?
Yes.
And
You
and
hit the
that
nail on the head right there.
that
You
is
hit it
like
on the head because people are watching you. You got to remember when people are in a vulnerable state of mind, you know what I'm saying, and you in a position to be a teacher. A lot of
mhm,
times people don't understand that you was a student first.
right,
I learned how to be consistent through a lot of failures because for one, when I made my mind up and said, you know what, I want to know what I need to do in order to navigate this. So I did the same thing that I'm telling you from experience. I was watching people, you know what I'm saying, throughout the different losses that I had experienced. I was watching people to see how they dealt with theirs, right? And so this is what turned me away from a lot of them because, I'm watching them, but a lot of people knew what I was going through, and they would come over to me and tell me something totally different from what I was seeing them do. So I
right.
was like, nope, I don't want to do that, right? Because now I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at you like you're a hypocrite. So I learned through a lot of failures because I had asked the world, I had asked God for something. I said, look, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to navigate this. I need guidance. And I followed my instincts when it
But
came down to
even when you ask for guidance, and let's say that guidance, because I think the Bible says something like that, not to get religious or anything, but about maybe not consistency, but like it what I thinking about it, like you have to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like
right,
you have
right,
to continually read your Bible. You have to continually pray. You have to be consistent in order for God or the universe or whoever your higher power is to listen to you and to for you to receive these things that you're asking for, right? Um,
right,
so like in life, when you are wanting to make a change or feel like you're at a point where you need to make a change, that consistency falls in there. You can't just go, okay, well, today I'm going to make a change and I'm just going to wait and see what happens. You can't wait for this to see what happens. You know what I mean? Because then it'll
mhm,
never happen. You know what I mean? The moment I decided to quit drinking, I didn't wait to see what was going to happen. I told myself, okay, that's it, and then that was it. But I had to be consistent from day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on. You know what I mean? Up until
right,
there was no drinking, and the thought, even though it crossed my mind, but it doesn't cross my mind to drink. If I see somebody drinking, I'm like, oh, but it's such a pattern now. It's such a way of life for me and everything now. I have zero desire, but that's thanks to my consistency. That's thanks to my wherewithal. That's
Right.
thanks to me constantly reminding myself, especially in those darker periods. You know, um, one of the things that
I want
happened.
to add to that.
Go ahead.
So I love that you said that, and I want to add a word in there because you know what I'm saying. I want people to understand that consistency is part of a process,
Right.
right? It's a process that's meant to change you. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you say that, hey, this is what I don't want to do over here, you will be tested throughout the process because it's asking you, do you really want it? So it's going to throw challenges at you. It's going to put you in situations. Life is going to life on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you can prove to life that, hey, I'm serious about this.
Right.
Just like yourself, when I decided that I was going to stop drinking, you know, the people that came around me wasn't used to me not drinking.
Huh.
So they
Who you
always
telling?
brought alcohol, right? They always brought alcohol around. Hey, man, you want to have a beer? Oh man, you want to do a shot and things like that. And when I got to a point where I was strong enough to tell them no, well, those individuals disappeared. They realized I wasn't fun to be around.
Huh.
Or at least in their mind, I wasn't fun to be around because I wasn't drinking with them, right? Now I never criticized anybody, but I had to make a decision. And
Right.
life said, okay, now that we got this out the way, I'm gonna put you in another situation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe find a little female, come around or something like that. Hey Tony, you want to go out? Yeah, what you want to go do? Look, there's a little bar up here and things like that. So again, it's playing to certain parts of me to see if I'm still going to follow suit, right? So
Yeah.
when I started saying no, I was like, I'm not trying to go to a bar. I'm not trying to go to a club. Then those females change, right?
Right.
It's a process that you have to go through. No matter what it is, consistency is part of a process.
Hold on. I just thought of something that's kind of funny. Um, but then I think it may speak. This may speak to somebody. I don't know, but like you were talking about when you stopped drinking, and then like most of those people pretty much disappeared because you weren't drinking with them, you weren't doing whatever.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, when I stopped drinking, everybody was on this. Whew, you know, and, and it wasn't so much as motherfuckers disappeared because I quit drinking. No, they kept drinking, and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I brought this drink with me." I'd be like, "Man, I don't give a fuck. I don't care." And then I'd say something, and then be like, "Well, you ain't getting none." I'm like, "Listen, I would get upset, and I still do get upset because maybe it's just because I'm still I'm very defiant sometimes, but like the thought of a motherfucker telling me that yo, you can't have any or you can't drink. And if I see you with a drink, I'm going to slap it out of your hand or whatever. First of all, if I want to fucking drink, I'm going to drink. Fact is,
Yeah.
I don't want to. But nobody can stop me from doing that except for me. I'm in charge
Yes.
of me. And I think because I want people to understand when I'm talking to them, when I'm saying these things, that how diligent I am in that thought. Does that make any sense? Because it sure makes a lot of sense to me to tell them, no, you can't stop me. You know, this is my fucking decision. So if I choose to make a fucking drink, I'm going to make a fucking drink. But I
Yeah.
choose not to. It's not a matter of a person telling me. I understand what it did in my life, and I understand where I'm at, and I understand where I'm going and where I intend on being.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's just something I thought about because
No,
you're over
no.
here talking about everybody dipped
Well, you
off on
ordered
you.
something. I want to add to that right there, right?
Hmm.
Because I heard that right there. But now let's look at the other side of it, right? You made a decision not to drink. So when people now you got to understand, you're telling people how to talk to you when you know what I'm saying, when you say certain things. So
Right.
when they come back and say, if I catch you with a drink, I'm gonna smack it out of your hands and things like that. Well, that's the way you talk to them as well, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's a mutual respect. going
Right.
on,
I
and
don't take
people that
offense
tell
to it
you
when they
that.
say it. I don't take offense to it. I just like,
Yeah, right. No,
I'm just
I didn't. I'm not saying that.
right.
I'm just saying like the way that they come, the way that they coming back. Now here's the other side, right? When I hear stuff like that, I smile because they're looking at you like, nah, dude. You know what I'm saying? You made a commitment. We're gonna hold you to that, right?
Cool.
And that's all it is. To me, that's what I was hearing.
Right.
You know what
No,
I'm saying?
that's
Like,
cool.
hey,
But you can't
yeah,
tell
yeah,
me what I'm gonna do and what I'm not gonna
right.
do.
Understood, and no one can, right?
Right.
That's truly your decision. But I also look at the respect factor. Like they respect you so much that they're like, "Hey, you said that you're
No.
going to do it. We're going to keep you. We're going to hold you to it,
No, I
right?"
get it. I get
That's
it. I
what you
just
call
thought it
good
was
people.
the thought was
Yeah,
funny.
that's
Like,
what you just call good people, man.
yeah, no. I get it. I'm just saying, like, that was like when you were talking about how everybody ran away from you, like dipped off on your ass when you stopped drinking, and nobody went anywhere on my ass. They was really like on some goddamn, thank God, whew, man, you're such a
So
better person. You know,
I think a lot of like when the people left my life, right? I was when I used to drink, I was one or two ways. I was one or two ways. When I got to drinking, we either fighting or I'm going to sleep with somebody. I'm going to find me a female to go sleep with somebody, right? So they hung out with me because of that. I attract females, but I also attract a lot of fights too.
right,
So depending on what we at and what we doing, that could change. But depending
yeah,
on what I'm
by the
drinking, is
moment,
going to dictate how that night goes.
right,
You dig what I'm saying?
yeah,
And so when I stopped doing that, I was no longer the guy that they wanted to hang out with because I wasn't willing to go to the clubs. I wasn't willing to go to the bars. I wasn't willing to go, you know what I'm saying, go to somebody's house and party because I didn't want to be a part of it.
mm-hmm,
The main reason when I stopped drinking, because I had my son.
right,
I didn't want my son to look at me and think that that was a great way to be raised up, right? You know what I'm saying? If he was going to do it when he got older, I wanted him to make that decision for himself.
right,
But he wasn't going to get it from me. So my son actually watched me not go out with friends. I had to make decisions.
right,
I was a single dad raising a little boy, and he was with me all the time. So I realized he was watching me. So I had to be mindful of what he saw. So when it came down to women and things like that, I had to be very mindful of what he saw. I didn't want him to think that it was okay to be going around sleeping with different women at a time. I didn't want him to think that, you know what I'm saying, alcohol was, you know what I'm saying, a normal thing or things like that. Make decisions for yourself.
right,
I can support whatever you do, right? But you're just not going to learn it from me. I want you to be a better man for me, for yourself. And so being consistent on that was part of it. When when I was going through the grieving process and things like that, yeah, being consistent was a huge part of it
and
because I had to have a routine.
right. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the main reasons why I brought up the drinking, because the drinking really seriously was the catalyst for me understanding what the fuck was going on in my head,
Hmm.
because I had a full on. I've been very open and honest about it. I had a full on meltdown where I wanted to end it all. Like,
Yes.
and there was nothing in my mind that was going to stop me, including myself. And the scariest part about that was the thought came at first when I was first like starting to have this feeling. It came in kind of weak, and I was able to, what are you, crazy? In my mind. And
Yeah.
it got stronger and stronger. It was the scariest shit that I ever dealt with in my life. It got so strong to where I started to really believe in my own mind that the absence of my soul, the absence of my physical would do everybody righteous. And
Yes.
that's a fucked up feeling. Now I said and God bless anybody that if you're going through that, I should have that the crisis number on hand. I'll make sure that I have it next time. But call someone immediately because it's not something you want to sit around and dwell upon. But what that did when I was able to call a crisis line, I have good family and friends that helped me through that. And even then, I wasn't trying to hear shit anybody said because I had already made my mind up.
Right.
And that was horrifying. But to tie that all back in with being consistent, when I had that moment where I was like, oh shit, that's why I was drinking. Because all of this other shit that I was stuffing down now had nowhere to go but blow the top off and just spill over into everything. And it was too much for me to handle at that very moment. I was cool like the first week or so of quitting drinking and everything, couple weeks, whatever. Nah, it might have been like a month, I don't know. But fuck, when it all came, because at first there was slight feelings and I didn't know where they were coming from, and I would do the same thing, which was what I was really consistent at, was stuffing it.
Yes.
But without the alcohol, I was unable to really, really keep that shit subdued, And after a while, like I said, it just kind of it just really blew the lid off and just bubbled over, and it was really extremely overwhelming. But I said all that to say that when getting through that and working through that, I understood something that I, just as consistent as I was in the drinking, I had to be consistent in managing these thoughts, in managing my feelings, in managing my emotions, managing my behavior, and managing the way I treated people.
Yep.
And had to be consistent. Like, it is a work. It is a work. It is a work. And people are afraid of the hard work. But nothing good comes easy. Nothing good comes easy.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's where your mental health comes into play too, right? You know what I'm saying? So tying that all in, a lot of people don't even know when they're struggling with their mental health, man. A lot. Look at how long it took for mental health to become a big thing in the world now.
Look, I was just talking to my daughter today, and I said, do you remember when I used to, I would lock myself in my studio, and I would just play music, and I would be crying, and everybody in the house would be like, oh, there he goes again. He's in there drinking and crying and listening to old songs and probably going down memory lane. And I told her what nobody knew was that I was in there struggling. I was in that room afraid. I was in that room fighting myself. I was in that room trying to figure out why do I feel like I'm not loved? Why do I feel like I'm not deserving of my children's love? Why am I having all these fucked up thoughts? Why? And the only thing that would really keep me like in place, so to speak, was I would have a drink and I would just play these old songs that would remind me of things, remind me of better times, or some of them even fucked up times that I got through. And I would just be in there crying because I didn't know what to do, and I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to, and I felt like I didn't know how to communicate, and I didn't think that anybody would even fucking listen. So I was stuck in this little paradox by myself all of the fucking time, and not knowing how to communicate, not knowing that these people actually cared about me and loved me and didn't want to see me that way. But they didn't know how to communicate to me because I was drinking, and now I'm emotionally in some fucking fucked up ass place. Because there would be times that they'd come in and go, you all right? Yeah, I'm fucking all right. And I'm crying like shit. I'm fucking fine. Leave me the fuck alone. Or sometimes I would be, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be all right. But I was really fucked up. Joshua James Hackler says, all feelings ain't real feelings. Hey, be careful with that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to argue with that one.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna have to argue with that one for the simple fact of all feelings are real feelings.
They're real,
right?
Man.
It's all because they do come from a place, a
Right.
real deep embedded place. And sometimes, like, if you start to ignore your feelings, then you become very emotionally unaware of who you are.
And
You
at
are a
that
human being,
particular
no matter.
time, at that time in
Right.
my life, and that went forever. That was before the kids. That was before that. This is something that I was very consistent on that shit. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it was the only thing that I knew how to do. Because I could do that, and then I would feel a little bit better coming out of that. So I thought, in my mind, I thought that was my therapy. That's what I needed. But
Right.
really,
Right.
it just progressively got worse and worse, and then and then with the drinking and everything. But shout out to Joshua right quick. He's been a friend of mine on Facebook since like I had a Facebook back in the day. This very same page, guy used to rap and used to send music to him and stuff like that. But shout out to you, Joshua, man. Good to see you,
Hey,
bro.
man, big shout out
Um,
to you.
but I talking about all of that because of the consistency after the fact, right? The consistency of getting through that real low point in my life and then figuring out, okay, if I do a mental check every morning I wake up. How am I feeling? What am I thinking about, and what am I doing to counteract, especially something fucked up or negative, right?
Right.
What do I need to do? Do I need to sit here and breathe for a minute? The other morning I woke up. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I woke up and I was like, "Fuck!" There's a lot of things going on in my head, and I sat at the edge of the bed and I sat there and it was like 5 a.m, and I was just breathing and really doing my best to keep my thoughts in order. And I thought I did. Yeah, and no, I didn't have a handle on none of that shit because as the time passed, within hours, I was going down a fucked up rabbit hole, and I kept finding it harder and harder to get a hold of myself, and it really
Yeah.
took me probably till about, I want to say, about 11 or 12 in the afternoon before I really got a grip on my thoughts and and what what I was thinking about doing, all of that shit. And that scared me, but it reminded me that I need to be consistent constantly. This is a constant work. This is a constant thing that I need to do for me. For me. If I want to be a better person and I want to get through these things and I want to heal and I want to, and just in case anybody is listening real quick, because I think as men, when we start hearing that, oh, I'm healing and I'm this and that there tends to be a weak thought with that, like, oh, he's one of those, he's healing, you know. There's nothing wrong with it, bro. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with healing yourself. You trust me, you'll be a better man. And it doesn't make you weak because I'll slap the shit out of you in my mind 99.99% of the time. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's a struggle every day. I told my daughter today, I said, I grew up with nonstop violence. I literally was trained for violence. So it's taken me a lifetime to get here. You know what I'm saying? But my slapper ain't broken. You know what I'm saying? But it's taken me a lifetime to get to where that's not the answer for me. That's not the go-to. You know? Come on,
Yeah.
Jorge. You're smarter than that. You know what I mean?
You
You
know,
got it.
I'm right there with you, brother. Look, I tell everybody I'm a battle dog, right? I am a true battle dog. If you put me in any situation and you put me in, give me an option of fighting or running, I'm gonna fight. The only thing that you can do is kill me. That's it. I have no fear of dying, right? I have little fear of anything in this world. So it goes back to what Joshua said. You know what I'm saying? So all feelings aren't real feelings; they just spark emotions. Well, emotions is our feelings, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's not kid yourself on that. Emotions or feelings is just a different word to express what you're talking to. Some or talking about. Some people will say emotions, some say feelings. They all mean the same thing, right? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so let's not confuse people when it comes down to that. Perception is your reality. So whatever your reality is, that's what you're going to perceive it
Right.
as. I don't take nothing away from anybody. I
Right.
really don't. Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. Look, I talk about healing all the time because it has been a huge part of me, right?
Right.
I've had to heal from narcissistic abuse. I've had to heal from um, seeing the fucked up shit that I've seen in my life. People dying, committing suicide, overdoses, police brutality, you name it. Being shot, going to prison, all of that shit, man. Being homeless, having to climb myself out of some really, really dark holes. And coming out the other end, um, a better version of myself,
Right.
right? And so in my mind, it was like I there's a quote by Dr. Jordan Peterson that he said, "You got to become a monster. Then you got to learn how to control, right?" So being a battle dog, I after a while I realized that I didn't have to fight every fight.
Right.
I didn't have to, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have to approach everything with a "I'm going to destroy you" type of attitude. That came from a lot of humility.
Right.
That and then it humbled me, you know. And so throughout that process, the consistent part about it was is that when I got to a point of being around certain people, I knew that I had to remove myself from the situation, right?
Hey, even
Um,
even removing yourself from a situation, you got to be consistent on that.
right. And I was going to say that. I was definitely going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth because not everybody's good for your mental health, right?
Yeah.
And you could be around a person that just rubs you the fucking wrong way and you be ready to take his head off, right? But then you realize you have to calculate how many times you're around a person like that, you know what I'm saying, throughout your life. Not very often. So I refuse to let another person dictate how I act. Whereas before they wouldn't have a fighting chance in hell with me. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, boom!" I was quick too, man. I was real quick with it. They'd be like, "What the hell? No, 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 no! Look, man, you should have seen this coming." So I used to blame everybody else for that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you should have seen this coming, man. How you gonna be around me, act this certain way, and then expect me not to get you,
Right. Let me ask you a
right?
question, Tony. Let
Yeah.
me ask you a question. What's the hardest thing you ever had to tell somebody and then be consistent with it?
The hardest thing is, um,
No, I mean the hardest thing you ever had to tell someone and then be consistent with what you told them.
to be honest with you, the hardest part was telling people that I love them
Wow.
and telling people and staying consistent with that, right?
Wow.
Um,
That's deep.
because it was an emotion that I had never really explored. My thought of love was different. I'd always been alone. All I ever known, like yourself, all I had ever known was toxic shit,
Right.
right? So, how do you define love? I
Uh,
know deep down inside, look, I'm a protector. I
right.
protect those that I care about very deeply. So you see how I just worded that, right? It's really hard for me to say, you know what I'm saying, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Um, and be consistent with it when I can tell you I care for you deeply because I've had people come back and take that term, I love you, and use it against me to try to hurt me.
Right.
So when that's the only definition that you have of love, then it's really hard,
Yeah.
right?
And it's hard. It's
To
hard to accept love, and it's hard to. It's hold on, but they never care about us the same. Yeah.
right, and that's what I mean, right? So you know what I'm saying? Like having that definition, and that's why I said that was the hardest thing I ever did was say I love you
Right.
and be consistent with that.
Well, I
Now
mean,
the
it's
only
hard.
person
It's
that
hard if you've been in a situation, a relationship, or anything like that, or even a parent child. You know, you being the child, not you personally, but you know, just in general. Um, and the parent, it has a difficult time with love and doesn't know how to show love. Then you start feeling like you're not worthy of love, which in turn,
uh-huh.
like in my thoughts, like not only that, you're afraid to tell somebody you love them because of those feelings. You know what I'm saying? Of that feeling of not being loved and not understanding love, not because if this is love is how love is supposed to be, I don't want it.
Right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying?
exactly. So
Uh,
I avoided it, right?
right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to remember the first time I ever told a female that I loved her was my very first fiance, and that was some time ago. Only to have her after we got engaged, 24 hours, she had hooked up with a partner of mine. After she had told me that she loved me too. So you know what I'm saying? If that's your definition of love, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
One of the harshest things that happened to me when I was out there game banging and stuff, man. Um, the homies like, oh, cuz we love you, man. We love you. And these was the same dudes that set me up to try to get me killed.
Right. Joshua just says, but is it reciprocal? That's the like. I think like. Well, I don't want
Is
to
it
go
reciprocated?
too heavy into the love thing because everybody sees love differently. You know what I mean? And like I know that for years in just in my life, I threw love around frivolously. Like, oh,
Right.
I love you. Yeah, I fucking love you. Yeah. And now where I'm at now, if I say that shit, I mean that shit. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody
That's
is going to
but
reciprocate that back.
right,
You know what I'm saying? But if
right.
I say I love you, and I was talking to a friend of mine I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and I said, man, it was so good to hear from him. I hadn't spoken to him in like 30 something years. Somebody gave him my number and he called me, and I grew up with this not more than 30 years. I grew up with this kid. I hadn't talked to him in so long. Like I was like, what the fuck, Lenchos? Whoa, shit, what's up, bro? Talking to him, we had a great conversation, and at the end of the conversation, I said to him, I said, man, well, it was really, really good hearing from you. Means everything to me, bro. I just want to tell you, be safe, man, and I love you. And his response fucked with me for a second. And we talk about reciprocation, right? He
Hmm.
said, I got a lot of love for you too. And that fucked with me for a second.
Right.
Like, because he didn't say he loved me. He just said, I got a lot of love for you. And that kind of fucked with me, man. Like, it's like, I don't know. When we want people to reciprocate our love, you know what I'm saying? And it took me a second afterwards to be like, you know what? Maybe that's his way of saying it. Maybe,
Ah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe he does have
Well,
love for me, but he don't love me. You know what I'm saying? That's cool
well,
too.
that doesn't mean that he don't though,
No, I'm
right?
just
You
saying
know,
that's cool too. I just say, yeah, that's cool too. Like
yeah.
I but
That doesn't mean that he don't.
right. I'm
It
saying
just
my
means
initial
that
thought was because of the way he put it together, my initial thought took it
right,
in
right.
logically, like, what? That's crazy. I hung up the phone and I was like, damn, you got love for me? Like, fuck, I got love for my dogs. I got love for the color of this room. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it just kind of fucked with me a little bit. But after I processed it, because a lot of that shit, a lot of those thoughts and a lot of those things are the old thought process trying to sneak its way back in. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
And I took a step back from it. It's like, you know what, man? It don't matter. I love that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And if he
And
loves
that's
me
that's
that
what I mean
way,
by that, right?
it doesn't mean
So
anything.
if I tell somebody that I love you, that means that I will go to the ends of the earth for you.
Right,
Meaning that no matter what, if you're right or wrong, I'm still going to roll with you.
right.
But I ain't going to tell you if you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you
Yeah, yeah,
after everything is all said and done, like, hey, that was fucked up, right?
yeah.
Because once you open up the doors for that conversation to be had or those words to even be said, you have now opened up the doors for me to be totally honest with you about anything and vice versa. I you know what I'm saying? I welcome that part into my life, right? and being consistent about it. That's why I said it took me a long time, and it took good people around me to show me what love is, right? And to be able to honestly say that to people is the best feeling in the world. Now, I won't say it to everybody because I don't love everybody. I don't, right? You know what I'm saying? But I think that's human nature. Now, I care about everybody. I do. But will I go to the same extent with someone, you know what I'm saying, that I love? No, I probably won't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there is a difference. But it took me a long time to understand that too. Was it and a lot of times it wasn't reciprocated when I said it to other people,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Uh, and it took me a long time to figure that part out too, brother. It
Yeah.
really did.
I had a
Staying
conversation.
consistent. Right. Mentally, certain things will fuck you up.
Right. I had listen.
Certain
So
things will fuck you up.
on that
I was
topic,
telling my brother Jeremy over here, man, a long time ago, because he asked me about the past that I used to live, and I told him, I said it fucked me up pretty good.
yeah,
Uh, a lot of times people don't understand the depth that it fucks you up. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Living a life where it's consistent violence and things like that, it becomes a norm.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It definitely becomes your norm. So it took a lot of retraining myself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like literally retraining myself and going, okay, you know what I'm saying? If this is the life that I want over here, these things are no longer um, accepted in this over here. I
Right.
have to teach myself how to be more accepting. I have
Right.
to teach myself to be a lot more forgiving. I have to teach myself to have grace for myself, patience, because there's things I don't know.
mm-hmm.
When you grow up and the only sort of emotions that you are used to, you know what I'm saying, are violence and anger, you know what I'm saying, you're quick to react to things, which is an emotional response.
Right.
The key to it is inconsistency is learning how to respond to things in a way to where it's more rational.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not going to undercut anything. It is extremely hard.
What you telling?
Extremely hard.
I before my mother passed away, I had a conversation with my mom, and I was crying, and she was like, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "This is one," and this goes to one of the hardest things I've ever had to tell someone. I looked at my mom and I said, I hate myself because I'm a coward." Now, mind you, this woman was part of the reason why there was so much violence, right? And so in her mind, the coward that I was talking about didn't exist to her. She's like, "What are you talking about? You know how to fight. You don't put up with no shit. You da da da." And I was like, "No, no, mom, no. I was a cow. I'm a coward because I never stood up to you. In my mind, I was a coward because I couldn't tell you no, that I didn't want to do those things. I really didn't want to do those things. I never did. I never wanted to be a violent person, but that was a life and shit that was taught to me. I didn't want to do that. Inside, I didn't want to do none of that shit. I didn't want to hurt people. I didn't want to do any of those things. But for whatever reasons, the guilt, the shame, and the shit that was constantly thrown on me to make me go do something to somebody because of whatever jam she got herself into, whatever money she owed to this person over here, or whatever person called her out of her name even though she was drunk and an alcohol a drug addict, and she would literally sick me on people. And I would say to her, I told her that, that I was a coward because I never told her no, and I did it, and I felt so much guilt and anger for myself. Now, I say that was the hardest thing I ever had to tell somebody, because I had to tell my mom that shit. But I also told her I didn't hate her for it, but I don't want to. I told her I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But I was still doing it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until like really right before she passed away that I had literally stopped all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And stopped allowing that to happen because it wasn't making me happy. It wasn't. It brought nothing to my life but more turmoil, more trauma, more guilt, more frustration, more anger, more of every self-loathing, just everything that you could fucking think of. And it took me forever to get to that point of telling her no. And then even when people were around me, like the mother of my children, like, because even when I was able to get away from my mom and stop that, like next thing you know, my sister picks up the torch and starts doing the shit. Right. Calling me in the middle of the night. Oh, this motherfucker did this. This happened over here. This happened over there. I need you to do this. And my significant other would say, why are you doing this? And, I'd go with the pistol. I'm ready to, unload it on a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? This is my sister. How dare you? You know what I mean? Because the thought is if I don't do something, it's a lot of fuck shit. But my significant other would be like, where are you going? Why are you doing this? Why every time your mom or your sister calls, you jump up and you're ready to go risk your entire everything and you have your own family right here? And that shit used to fuck me up. But I would go do it. I'd go do it anyways.
Yeah, I got a thought on that, right? Because a lot of what you said I can relate to on such a level that's freaking scary. Is loyalty.
Yeah. But there's a difference. I can be loyal to my mother. I'm loyal. I was loyal as fuck. I'm the most loyal motherfucking child she had.
Right? Loyalty. So whether if a person is right or wrong, if someone hurts someone that you love deeply or care about deeply, your first instinct is I gotta go take care of this. Right? No matter what. No matter what. It can be wrong as not wrong as anything else, you know what I'm saying? But you would justify it and make it right. You know what I'm saying? And it goes back to what Microphone Misfit TV said. You are responsible for any decisions, whether it's
right.
if it's rational
or
irrational. It's holding yourself accountable.
I think at the time I held my mom responsible for that. But that was
right.
That was me not understanding the trauma that I was going through, right. The shit that I had dealt with, and how, because I'm going back to my daughter today when talking to her, I didn't understand how those things affected me. Right. I didn't understand that my mom, by also belittling me and making me think I wasn't worthy of her love and worthy of these things, that I would go and do those things to try to, in my mind, get her love, get her touch, get her something from her. If I do this, she'll know that I love her.
When you used to affection looking a certain way, that's what you crave. Or if there is a lack of,
right,
you're looking for something to feel something. So from that individual to show that to show that you're worthy to them, right? To show that they feel some sort of something for you.
And listen, that shit took consistency. Like once I came to this fucking realization, oh shit, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I had to be like steadfast. That shit caused so many arguments and everything because they didn't understand why I wasn't doing it. They didn't understand that this ain't got shit to do with y'all. It's got everything to do with me.
Right. That's and I think that's what Misfit was saying. You know what I'm saying? Like holding yourself accountable for your decisions, because at the end of the day, like you said in the beginning, can't nobody make you drink. Right. You know what I'm saying? That has to be the same thing. The same thing when it comes down to anything that we decide to do. Right? It's holding yourself accountable to do the right thing.
How does consistency in your mind work with being accountable? Just in your
Well,
mind, your thoughts on that, because I want to keep tying this into consistency,
right,
because I
right.
because I just feel like that, it's like muscle memory, like in weightlifting, you know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? It's like muscle memory. So if you keep doing it, it becomes habit, it becomes things that you practice, things that you do, things that you become aware of something, and you make yourself consistently aware of it, you make the necessary changes and adjustments,
Uh-huh.
right? So I mean, it just I'm just asking, maybe there's someone out there that may need to hear it or whatever. This is why I ask these questions and shit. What do you think that accountability? How do you think that works alongside with consistency? Because we both know, and I think for the most part, people know that, especially if they're in the beginning of their journey, they might quit because it's like, fuck, this shit is hard. This
Right.
this is every day, every hour, every minute, every second of the fucking day. This is it. You know what I'm saying? What?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to
Um,
just sit down and say fuck it.
yeah, and it's I had to battle that for a long time too, man. Like nothing came easy. Nothing came easy at all. So in my mind, consistency was the key to everything. So when I was hurting, it was so easy for me to go out there and hurt other people because I wanted the world to feel my pain. I had to change my mindset and I had to tell myself, it's nobody else's fault that I'm going through this, right? I can't change what life has done to me. So I have to I have to accept my reality,
Right.
right? I had to accept my reality and things like that. And for the thoughts that I was having, I had to tell myself, no, you can't go out there and do that, man.
It's
What
easier
you gonna
said
do?
than done.
Right, you're gonna go out there and hurt somebody else, destroy their family because life on you. You can't do that. That's not right. And so that became the first step was understanding that I can't change things. The second part was asking myself, asking myself, what do I go from here? So it was a sequence of events. And when the challenges came, it tested those first two. I had to make a decision. I had to go, no, I'm not gonna do that. When I was dating a female one time. And you would think that what she said to me hurt me, right? But it was the consistency of the first two that helped me look at the things that she was saying and be able to walk away from it without hurting her back, right? Because she had told me 6 months after my son had passed away, and I was still going through it because I didn't understand it. But she told me, she goes, I don't know why you feel this way. It's been 6 months. You should be over it. I looked at her. I said, "Man, now if she'd have caught me a long time ago, I would have turned around. I probably would have choked the shit out of her, right? You know what I'm saying? Bitch, who the fuck you think you're talking to? You know what I'm saying? I just lost my kid, and you gonna tell me I should be over it? Let me take your kid away from you so you can see how I feel. That would have been my mentality. But instead, I looked at her, I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. But I thank you for telling me this. See, now I'm responding instead of reacting
Mm-hmm.
because being consistent with the first two helped me come up with that, right? And I didn't want to retaliate because, for one, I knew the way that I felt. I never wanted anyone else to feel that way um, because it's hard. It's a deep embedded pain that I don't wish on nobody. I don't wish this. Look, man, I don't wish it on my worst enemy, and I don't even have enemies anymore. But I don't wish that on anyone at all. I don't care who you are. Um, and even now, when people say certain things to me, I don't react the way that most people think I'm going to react. Look, man, I get people getting smart with me. I got people talking to me always sideways, and because they're trying to see what I'm going to do, right?
Right.
Uh, and it's part of the process. If a person can detour you from goals, they will always do it. Now, if you take that into consideration, it helps you remain consistent in your mental health. It helps
Right.
you remain consistent on the path that you're on, because it's like, okay, I understand that everybody has a role to play, right?
Hmm.
Whether that person is there temporarily just to give you a little something of themselves, or, you know what I'm saying, or if they dare, you know what I'm saying, to try to deter you from getting to the next level. And
Right.
now you can unpack that on so many different levels, so many different levels. But it's what you get out of it. It's what you get out of it, and how you use it moving forward.
How do you and because some people may not understand what consistency means. How do you explain that word in a physical or a mental mind state? How do you explain consistency to
Okay,
somebody?
so I can relate to that consistency in a mental in a physical realm. You know what I'm saying? Bodybuilding, right? Consistency is equal to discipline. And what I mean by that, in bodybuilding, you will eat the same things every day as long as you bodybuilding. You have, you know what I'm saying, your meals, you have your workouts, the times you're supposed to go to sleep, you know what I'm saying? All of those different things. How you carry yourself, right? So the consistency in that is key to it, because you want to look a certain way, right? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So the foods that you eat is going to determine how you look. So you have to be consistent, even when you don't want to do it, man. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to eat 13 meals a day.
Right.
That's your whole life. That's your every day. And then you got to figure out how to work out an hour twice a day.
But that's your
In
choice.
between that,
That's your
right? You know what
choice.
I'm
That's
saying?
your
It's a
choice.
choice, right? But this discipline that comes along with that, so that could teach you a hell of a lot. Even when I was boxing, even when I was doing martial arts, even when I was doing MMA and things like that, it's a consistent mindset that keeps you, um, that gets you where you need to be. You know you got to go and you got to do your workouts certain times a day, right? You got to, you know what I'm saying, even when you're not doing workouts, you still have to have a mindset of, you know what I'm saying, I can't go out here and party. I can't go out here, you know what I'm saying? I can't go out here and be running around with these women, because I need this in order for me to achieve what I
Okay.
need to achieve.
From the
So it's
physical,
very
that's from the physical. So
right,
for
right.
someone sitting back thinking, well, I don't know how in the fuck that's gonna work for me when I'm dealing with this shit over here. Or I don't know how me being consistent has to do with anything of me being pissed off every day. That doesn't have anything to do with me feeling ashamed about shit. That don't how is that supposed to fucking help me?
Okay. I'm gonna answer that one too. I'm gonna add to what I was just saying, because now we're looking at the mental aspect of it, right? If a person is struggling in those different areas and he's questioning himself, what does consistency have to do with the way that he feels or they feel? You know what I'm saying, man or woman, right?
But because real quick though, real quick, because mental good mental health falls in line with good physical health.
Right. And I was going. That's why I said I'm gonna tie it in. I'm gonna tie it in, right? Because now let's pick this thing apart. When you feel good, right, your mental mindset is good. So there's a consistency that goes along with that. If you like the way that you feel, you know what I'm saying, you'll keep doing it.
Right.
With that, there comes those different levels of serotonin that comes along with that. You know what I'm saying? The dopamine that comes along with that natural stuff, right? You know what I'm saying, that you can use in order to have a good positive mindset. But now here's the key to it. You know what I'm saying? You have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, or better yet, you have to come up with a goal, and then you have to be disciplined to hit that goal.
Right.
Now, the physical aspect works into the mental aspect, right? You know what I'm saying? This is going to help you develop a routine
Let's play stupid real quick. Let's play
All right,
stupid real quick.
Let's.
Let.
All right.
I'm Johnny Dumb
How
Fuck, right?
you feel that way?
I'm Johnny Dumb Fuck. I just woke up
All
though.
right.
I
Well,
woke
if
up
I,
this.
if I was talking to you, right, and
No,
you can't
hold on. I'm Johnny Dumb Fuck. I woke up this morning and I thought, I want to be a better person.
Mhm.
What does Johnny Dumb Fuck do to start being consistent? I just want to be a better person. I'm Johnny Dumb Fuck. I don't know shit else. I just woke up and I was like, you know what? Today I think I'm gonna be a better person.
All right. Surround yourself with people
give
that can
it
inspire
to
you.
me in Johnny Dumb Fuck's language.
Well, I'm gonna look at Johnny and go, okay, you want to be a good person, then what does a good person mean to you, right? Because we all gonna have different definitions, and only Johnny Dumbfuck can answer that.
Right.
What does a good person mean to you? And Johnny Dumbfuck already has the answers. He just never really explored it, or never been asked the questions to explore it. So hey, Johnny, man, you want to be a good person? Yeah, man, I want to be a good person. Well, okay. What is a good person to you, man? Right? Johnny already has an idea of what a good person looks like. So then from there, you go, okay, write that shit down, man. Write that shit the fuck down. Look, I'm gonna talk to Johnny like I'm talking to a 3-year-old.
Right.
Write it down, man. Because now, look, when you write it down, it now becomes a reality. It's no longer up here, because if it's up here, you can easily, you know what I'm saying, move that shit around and make excuses. Write it down. That way, it's embedded in here. So whenever you get to a point, and I always say, whenever you write it down, leave space in between what you're trying to accomplish, or that definition, right? And the reason being, because as you begin to go, you can then add in things under what you perceive a good person to be.
There we go.
Routine.
There we go. There it is.
Right.
So Johnny Dumbfuck wants to be a better person. Now, this goes back to like even me with the drinking, and not to keep bringing up the drinking, but it's just the catalyst to get to the other shit.
Right.
When everything bubbled over, now I got this list, this motherfucking long, of to do.
Exactly.
Because I'm like, oh fuck, I'm dealing with this. I mean, the fucking list was like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like you unroll that and you just go roll it out. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, fuck, and that can be overwhelming. But to get from A to Z, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Because if you're consistent, if you're aware of A is going to help you to be aware of B, and so on and so forth. It becomes a trickle down effect, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And so Johnny Dumbfuck, I think that writing it down is good. I think acknowledging what is good to you.
And what is bad? What's keeping okay, now that you have that right. Now here's the other side to that, to add to that consistency. You know what I'm saying, to make you start to hold yourself accountable. And then you ask yourself, what's keeping you from achieving that? What's keeping Johnny Dumbfuck from achieving being a good person in the world? Now you got to hold himself accountable.
The same
reason wrong with that, because maybe Johnny Dumbfuck may be fucked up.
Same reason that David Dipshit doesn't know that Johnny Dumbfuck wants to be a better person and fucks with him every goddamn day.
Exactly. So David Dipshit may be setting himself up to get an ass whooping, right? And
well, don't condone any ass whoopings for anybody, but that
but you see what I'm saying, though?
Johnny Dumbfuck on the top of his list may be like, I want to be a better person. I'm going to start with David Dipshit.
Right. But see, David Dipshit don't know that. David Dipshit don't know that Johnny trying to change his ways.
Well, if Johnny, if Johnny's being consistent in his behavior and his reaction and his and his behavior towards him, his actions towards him, and his thoughts, and
Uh-huh.
his
So
vocalizing shit
now,
towards him.
remember what I said. Remember what we was talking about earlier. Now, when Johnny decides that he's going to be a good person, David Dipshit don't know that. So Johnny is working on himself. He ain't focused on what David's doing anymore.
Right.
He's working on himself. So now the next time, see, when you have a routine of messing with someone, you're used to getting a reaction out of that individual.
Right.
What fucks that person up the most is that when this person decides to go, no, man, I'm not gonna react like this anymore. I'm just gonna learn how to respond. It takes a lot of work to do that. It takes a lot of consistent work,
Consistency.
discipline work,
Consistent. More
right?
discipline is consistency.
So now when David comes over the next time, right, he's going to do something expecting Johnny to react to it. Now it's going to fuck him up when Johnny go, whatever, man, and just calm himself down and walk the fuck away.
Or just says,
Right?
well, I'm
'Cause
sorry you
now
think that
David
way.
got to figure out what the fuck.
I'm sorry you feel that way, David, but have a
Yeah,
good day.
exactly. Right? And then because life is going to challenge you every step of the way. David's just one portion of it.
Right. And that's the thing
That's
too
what
about change.
David's become.
That's the thing about change and being consistent, because when we talk about, let's talk about Johnny and David real quick. David Dipshit doesn't know what Johnny's thinking. Johnny doesn't know what David's thinking. But Johnny, if he wants this change, has to be consistent, because David is only going to look at him through one lens, or whatever lens he's looking at him. And it may be hard for him, David, but it's not up to Johnny. But it may be hard for David to understand that Johnny is not there anymore. He's not that person anymore.
Yes.
But that's not for that's not for Johnny to be concerning himself with David like that. Johnny has to be aware of himself and take care of himself first, and be consistent in that.
Yes.
And if David decides to see that in him and then act accordingly, then cool. But if not, Johnny shouldn't give a fuck. I mean, he should give a fuck, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, who in the fuck am I? I'm just a guy talking. I'm just a fucking guy talking. You know what I mean?
Right. But maybe Johnny shouldn't give a fuck about what David's doing, because he already realized David ain't gonna change. So when David realized that Johnny has changed, David now has to pick a new victim.
Or
he has to pick another individual,
change his goddamn self.
Or change himself, right? But a lot of times when people are that way, it takes a really messed up situation to help them, to make them change that, right? Because maybe Johnny didn't do anything to him. Maybe Johnny's just on some other stuff. Maybe Johnny found his purpose in life. That's what was his deciding factor. Maybe he didn't want the things that he wanted before. Maybe he's tired of being that dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, and now he's going to go and change everything about himself because he wants to feel good about himself in the world now. Maybe he go out and start a business. Maybe he's going to go out there, you know what I'm saying, work on his health, work on his mental health.
Maybe Johnny wants to start a family, and he knows he needs to be a better person to start this family.
Right. So maybe David may see that, right? And maybe David may change the way he talked to Johnny. Like, hey, man, you know what I'm saying? It may take a long time too. Maybe David will see that and go, man, I remember Johnny used to be this place, man. Let me go talk to Johnny to see how he feels. Now, Johnny, when that time comes, he has a choice to make. Are you going to forgive that dude? Or are you going to walk away from him? Now that's the deciding factor in a lot of cases, because a lot of times people can't forgive that person, right? But because it becomes a catalyst of why you do the things that you do.
100%. But that's why I came up with the little adage, you can't hold the past hostage while trying to kidnap the future.
Exactly. But it's easy to hold on to the past, right? Because it's a familiar and safe place.
You can hold it hostage all you want, but it ain't gonna get you nowhere.
It ain't gonna get you nowhere though, right? You know what I'm saying? But now that's where we open up the expansion of our thoughts. That's where we crack it open and go, shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to go, man, if you'd have known me 20, 30 years ago, right? Oh man, if you'd have known me then, you wouldn't be talking the shit that you talking now, right? You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
guilty of saying that shit a lot. Like the old me
Oh
would have
man,
fucked
yeah,
your
we
ass up.
all have. We all are. But just like you said, the past is the past. You can't change that no more. The future is unknown. But in this moment, that's all that really matters. I
Right,
don't care who I was 20, 30 years ago. I don't. It's not who I am. And if
right.
I'm going to become a better version of myself, I gotta start. I gotta start letting that shit go. Now, there's things that I will take with me
Yeah,
that are beneficial in this moment, but not everything.
right,
Not everything, because most of that shit was very destructive.
right.
So
Just like
I
just
can
like
take
that
I can
saying,
take the good things,
not
right?
everybody
I can
can
take
go, but not everybody can go. But it's the same
right.
thing, kind of like your thoughts and emotions. Not all of them, not all of them can go.
Right. Exactly. Because you know what I'm saying, you figure out what it is, you know what I'm saying, the things that are going to be beneficial into you moving forward, and then you can build
It
upon
makes the
those things.
adjustments.
Like,
I took for some of my aggressiveness and turned that into assertiveness.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's what I mean. You gotta have a catalyst, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Your thing is music, always has been music. Now you focus more on that. You focus more on being creative in your podcasting world, right? You know what I'm saying? So you're seeing the value in having a purpose and a direction in life. Being consistent adds to that. Being
100%.
consistent in anything that you do adds to that. So if so like what my purpose is. My purpose is to keep providing support to those men that come into my world. To keep being a servant and follow my path to be creative and allow my gift to manifest itself into the world. Right? You know what I'm saying? And I'm constantly excited for it.
Hmm.
I'm constantly excited for it. It took me a long time to get to that place, but I'm excited to see what tomorrow may bring. But I know
Yeah.
that what I do today is going to impact how tomorrow looks. The past doesn't impact that anymore. I can't go back to that person. I'm
It
not the
can if
person
you
I used
allow
to
it.
be.
It can if you allow it.
If I allow myself to go back to be that gang banging drunk
Or
and
even
drunk,
or even a thought process. If you allow that
right,
thought process to creep itself back in and not be consistent
right,
in redirecting your thinking, in
right,
breathing exercises, in knowing what your journey is or what your purpose is or whatever the fuck it is, that keeps a person like motivated to continually get better or be better within themselves. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Oh,
It's self awareness,
mm-hmm.
becoming very, very emotionally intelligent, um, and then like we
Say that
still
shit
said
one more
throughout
time. Emotionally intelligent. A lot of people misconstrued that because they
woo-wee.
think I think they think it has something to do with their intellect. Like it's no, I'm not no
No,
dummy. I'm not no dummy. Emotional intelligence is a real goddamn thing, and it's something that people really need to take a look at. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Because it's more
that's
than
part of
just
it.
like it's like emotional maturity. A
Mm,
child, a 2-year-old doesn't act the same as a 10-year-old.
exactly,
You know what I'm saying? The emotional
exactly,
maturity. A 2-year-old may throw a fit in the store because he doesn't get a candy bar, but the 10-year-old may not do that. An
right,
11-year-old may not do that
right,
because of their emotional maturity, their emotional intelligence. They may know that as a 10-year-old, jumping around and screaming is not going to get me that candy bar that I desire.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That may get your ass whooped,
We don't
right?
condone beating on your kids, but goddamn it, if they need it, goddamn it. No, I'm just playing. Let me shut up. Um,
Hey, man, a large portion of all of this, man, that I don't want it to go over people's heads is, you know what I'm saying, you do have to make a decision. It all depends on. It all starts with you in the the decision that you make and what you want out of life. We run across knuckleheads all the time, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? People that are afraid to let go of that lifestyle, people that are afraid to move forward because they're
Afraid of
afraid that
change. Afraid of
afraid of
change.
change. Afraid of change, right? Most people don't understand that. That's why I said becoming self-aware and emotionally intelligent, you know what I'm saying, comes with the maturity, but that also comes through a lot of consistent hard work. If people really understood, those who are working on themselves understand this. When I say this, those who have not began, well, you know what I'm saying, it may go over their head, but maybe this will give them a starting point. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you could prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong, right? Most people will stop because of the exhausting work that it takes.
The mental fortitude
Right.
that it fucking
Most
takes.
people will stop. They will say, this is not worth it, right? Okay, well, was it worth the times that you spent in prison? Was it worth the times that you had to be out here struggling, trying to figure out where your next meal was coming from? So you have to take those things in accountability. I would rather go out here be exhausted from the work that it's going to take for me to get to where I need to get to the right way than to ever go back to doing things the way that I used to, because I already tried that. It didn't get me anywhere.
Didn't work out too well.
Didn't work out too well for me, right?
Right.
And most times when you say that to people, they go, "Oh, no, it's a." Here's a question for you: how's that working out for you?
How's that working out for you? How'd that pan out?
Yeah, how's that working out for you? It may sound like a dick saying to say, but I'm doing it so it can bring a reality to you. How's that working out for you? You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, for those out there, take the steps, man. Take the steps. Ask yourself what you truly want in this world. Write that shit down. Don't be afraid to add things to it, but also ask yourself what's keeping you from getting there. And then staying consistent and changing those things. Come up with a game plan, a solid game plan. Remember, when you go out into the world, you're not playing checkers, you're playing chess.
All day.
Everything that you do.
Mainly playing chess with yourself. You're playing chess with
right,
yourself.
you know,
With yourself.
There you go. There you go, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you're, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of responsibility because, for one, when you become responsible for yourself, you show the world that you're responsible, right? You know what I'm saying? When you
Right.
become disciplined and consistent and consistent work that you're doing, you're now teaching people how to treat you. When you can wake up with a mindset and you know what I'm saying, and you can have that conversation with yourself, you teach people how to love you. Because no matter what, you're the first line of defense before you head out into the world.
Absolutely. Shout out to
So,
E. Johnson, one of the most loyalist of people that
big
has
shout out.
subscribed to the channel. He has been a subscriber to the channel since day one. Shout out to E. Johnson. I had to get that out right quick.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Uh,
But what are your thoughts on it though, man? You know what I'm saying? You've been letting me talk and things like that.
no,
You know,
I mean, I think I've been pretty clear on my thoughts about
Yeah.
it. Like, consistency is like such a key thing. Well, it has been for me.
Yeah.
A key thing in how I manage and deal with things, you know, how I perceive things, how I emotionally deal with things. I have to be like, emotionally, I have to be consistent as fuck for me.
Yes. Yes.
I have to keep my emotions in check constantly.
Yeah.
You know, and that means good ones and bad ones, because I have a tendency at times, even when I have a good feeling, to just overwhelm motherfuckers with it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And same with the negative side, because if the negative side comes in, then it's like all hell's ready to break loose. You know, and I'm not gonna give a fuck. You know what I mean? But to me, being consistent. That's why I say every day I wake up, I say to myself, I'm going to make today a better day than yesterday, because I'm in charge of my actions and I'm in charge of my behavior. So I'm going to make every day for me better than yesterday, no matter how bad yesterday felt at the time. I can do better.
Yeah.
And I can make the day better by being in the moment, by being consistent in my thoughts, being consistent in my behaviors, and being consistent in how I treat people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's what it all means to me. And it is time to go. So, last words, Tony. Not last words, but last thoughts.
Last thoughts, man. Remember when you go out into the world to show up. You can't dictate other people's actions, but you can dictate how you show up and how people show up with you. Pay attention to it.
Word. And I second that. And I'm going to end the show by saying to anyone that feels alone or insecure or unloved or they have no direction or anything, any tiny thing that may affect you in a negative way or have your thought process be negative. Be in the moment. Stay in the moment. Be aware of yourself. Give yourself some grace. Be aware of yourself. Stay in the moment. Breathe. It's going to be all right. And be consistent with it. Be fucking diligent. It'll pay off in the end. No one's going to think anything bad of you. If you say that you're healing, no one's going to get mad at you if you tell them you love them. No one's going to be upset with you because you're being a better person. No one's going to get mad at you. It doesn't make you weak. Doesn't make you soft. It doesn't make you anything like that. You want to be happy, be consistent. Wake up tomorrow. Be in the moment. And make that day better for you. And be consistent with it all fucking day. All day. Every moment, every second, every hour, every minute. Make it better and be consistent. Because then that'll make tomorrow a little bit easier. It may not fix everything, but it'll put you on your way. With that being said, Tony, man, nothing but love for you, man, and respect. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll be back next week, next Sunday, 8:30. Like always, consistent as fuck. Let's go.
Hey, man. I love you.
I love you too, man. Be safe, everybody. Talk to your people. Reach out to your people. Sir. They may need it. You may not think they need it. Just reach out to them, holler at them, say hello, say hi. Let them know you love them. Tell them to be safe. It's a crazy world we're living in. Peace, Tony. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you next Sunday.